Hello, everyone. New podcast featuring your least favorite RPG gamers, Getselious and Sithscott.
Hello.
And yeah, you might be knowing what's going on with us this time. So, Sithscott and I, as you probably know, are a huge fan of RPGs, and we decided to talk about the most important skill in any RPG is save scumming. So we decided to talk
Yep.
about save scumming, RPGs, and more. So support Save Scumming podcast for your RPG news and more. So this is our first save, and then we're going to start by talking more about ourselves a little bit so you get to know us. If you haven't seen our YouTube videos or any time you had interaction with us, hi, I'm Getselious, this is Scott. So Scott, talk about yourself. How'd you get into RPGs?
Alrighty. So RPGs are my current love, but my very first RPG that I played was Final Fantasy 1, and I absolutely hated it. I was a kid who didn't know really how to read. I also didn't do a whole lot of math or numbers. I also didn't do like really anything that you needed to be at least knowledgeable about on RPGs. And so I went as far as till I got to like the zombies in the first Final Fantasy, and the zombies were a pain if you didn't have like a cleric to heal you, or like I guess a white mage to heal you, or deal cure damage to zombies, because that was a thing. In case you never knew that, and I turned away from all Final Fantasies until Final Fantasy 3 came out on the Super Nintendo. And I gave that game a try once I was able to read and do math and was a functional kid. had the elementary school schooling going in. And I learned that I loved RPGs. And after that I played Chrono Trigger and decided that was the greatest game ever made, and I still go by that opinion that it is indeed the greatest game that's ever been made, and it probably will always be the greatest game ever made.
Let's I'll be honest with you.
And
That's not an opinion. That's kind of a fact. I mean, small tangent here. There are tons of documentaries what into that game from music and art decisions. It's just amazing. And what they did with such little they had, that's considered GOAT.
yeah. So that was what got me into RPGs, and I went back and played Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and then realized that it was weird because there was also another like 4 RPGs in Final Fantasy I never played before, because those of us in the West realized we had 1, 2, and 3, and those were actually just 1, 4, and 6.
Yep.
So we never really did 3 or 5. So I had to find those, and that was an interesting experience because I never actually found them for the actual system. I had to do the whole get it on a PC with a ROM kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And that was interesting in itself. But
So,
it also taught me that there was a lot of RPGs at that time that we did not get.
Oh, 100%. I believe I could be correct. I believe they sold some of the Final Fantasies before we had the Pixel remasters through other means. Like I believe the PlayStation 1, there was some PlayStation 1 collections, but that's a different thing with time.
Yeah,
So,
we had the Origins anthology, I believe it was,
yeah,
for
that
Final
was it.
Fantasy. So that one had some of the Final Fantasies on there. But yeah, I remember I didn't actually have a PS1. I had the PS2 to play the PS1 games.
Oh God. So when I was talking myself, hi, I'm Getsilius. What got me into RPGs is a little game called Fantasy Star. I played Fantasy Star 2 when I had my first Sega Genesis, and I enjoyed it. I was really dumb, and I was trying to figure out clunkers, but I was a simp for Nye's best girl. And no spoilers for the story. Stuff was cool, and I beat that game. And I started playing other RPGs. One RPG you might hear me talk about all the time is called Tactics Ogre. Let us cling together.
There's the counter.
There's the counter. Ding. Yeah, Tactics Ogre for the Super Nintendo, and I love that game. It brought my love to strategy RPGs and RPGs across the board, from like making your units and putting it together, and it was great. I love Tactics Ogre to the day I die. I even bought, even with the gift of my friend, this guy called Sithscott. I probably never heard of him. Just a nice guy, gifted me Tactics Ogre Reborn like 2 years ago, and I was legit crying because it was on PC, so I could finally play it. So it was legit good. But that's the game also. But and I really loved RPGs upwards because of the reading thing of it. Because if you guys don't know, I'm an immigrant descent person, and my father and I had to learn English together. So we would practice from reading comic books or reading stuff out loud to each other, and I would read storylines to him in game games, and we were just impressed doing that stuff like that. It was a good time we spent time with each other reading. And Another RPG I also loved in my youth was outside the GOAT Chrono Trigger was Shining Force 1 and 2. It was the most gorgeous SRPG of all time for the Sega Genesis, and that's about it. I really love that. I'm hoping one day Sega at least makes a report of it so I can play Shining Force 1, 2, 3, and Gaiden. That's it.
Yeah.
And I will be okay. But generally, I've been playing RPGs since the 90s and all the way upwards. I just enjoy it as a genre. The RPGs I'm playing right now, that's on my mind, is Scott knows I can't stop playing it. Cinco Tactics Ogre. No, I'm just kidding. Final Fantasy 14. So I still play
Oh
RPG.
yeah.
Yeah, I still play 14 a lot. I enjoy the game, but yeah, overall, I play a lot of RPGs from various ranges, from like AAA to indie to everything else. So, but I mostly, to me, the golden era of RPGs was like, in my honest opinion, for me was like from Sega all the way to like maybe the end of PS2 ish, because PS1 RPGs are so good. A part of me is like, should I end at PS1? No, because if I end at PS1, I don't get one of the goats, KOH2. Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts 2. So it's like, if I say only PS1 RPGs are good, I have to ignore the GOAT of Kingdom Hearts 2, which is that is not an argument you can have with somebody.
That is not a good try to say like there were no good RPGs when there was Kingdom Hearts 2 on there.
Yeah, like just that's just one. That's just one. We're not even getting into like oh god, we're not even getting into like oh god, was it Xenosaga?
Xenosaga, yeah,
Xenosaga,
yep.
yeah, or Dot Hack. We're not
The
even
dot
getting.
hack games were some of my favorites. Yeah.
God, that was such a cool aesthetic, and and not
Yeah.
even some of the Tales of games if you're able to get them through allegedly sailing the seven seas, or actually buying them. So I can't say like
Going to retro stores.
go to retro stores. Yeah, yeah, let's call it that. So yeah, that's who we are. We're RPG lovers of all kinds. We have different tastes and everything else. And the first thing we're going to talk about is RPGs that you should take a look at, and you probably haven't played already. That came out last year in 2024. So let's start with that. So let's go. So the first RPG coming from me I recommend you guys play is Beloved Rapture. Beloved Rapture is in its core a beautiful SNES Sega Genesis-esque RPG with some PS1-esque. It basically has all the nostalgia points in a nutshell. Its combat's great, it has great storytelling, and it has great replayability. I generally like how this game is polished. A lot of great indie games are clearly inspired by games such as Chrono Trigger, inspired by Final Fantasy 4 through 6. Pick one. They're all goated. I'm not joking. If old school Final
They're
Fantasy
all
RPG,
good.
they're all good. Pick one. And it's clearly they wear that charm in their games and put it in there by putting it there, but not being a copy of it. And I respect Beloved Rapture because of it. It's an excellent RPG. I cannot recommend enough. It's really fun. Will make the sun go down for you and come back up again. Can't recommend. And it has, if I'm not kidding, good mini games. Which is something that's been making a comeback in RPGs. Mini games. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has mini games, so
Yeah.
putting mini games in RPGs can be cool. So
Yeah. Sometimes they can take up the whole game too.
they can. Oh god, they could be a whole sub game. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. And another game I recommend is a game you probably saw me stream a lot on the Outerhaven YouTube channel, is Beastie Balls. It's in early access. I love Beastie Balls. Beastie Balls is a perfect blend of creature collector and sports game. Games are like Super Dodgeball Advance, volleyball with creature collecting. You can build strategies, scoring. It's not about just beating your opponent down. You can score without hurting opponents. You get so many things. It's probably one of the greatest things that's ever been done. And it's like such a great combination as early access. I cannot unrecommend it any way whatsoever. Please get it when you can. I wholly recommend it. That's that in a nutshell. So, Scott, it's time for you to let them know what RPGs they probably should have tried and they haven't tried already.
Alrighty, so I do want to caveat that these are definitely games that I know that you probably missed out on because 2024 is a big year. But the first one I want to talk about is a game called Key Locker. It is an indie JRPG, and also has rhythm mechanics. It has a fun cast of characters, and it deals with them basically becoming rebels and trying to rebel against the society, with them essentially using music because music was banned. It's really fun, and it's a really entertaining experience. It also, though, is very difficult. especially if you are not good with rhythm.
Yeah, and they do not give you a lot of abilities to skip rhythm. There is no like, hey, this character's a play by rhythm. No, no, you have to know the beat. There's
Yeah.
very few ways to get around that. Trust me. So you better hit them buttons.
Okay, and the next game on the list that I have is Toho Spell Carnival. It is a game that mixes the bullet hell elements of the Toho universe with RPG mechanics. And overall, I think it does it very well. I do think that it can be a little bit troublesome when you have more than 3 characters in your party because there's a lot of things you have to keep track of on screen. But overall, I think it blended it a whole lot better than I was expecting it to. And it's still a really fun time to experience.
Yeah, definitely. And the funny thing is, like, all the games mentioned so far are quote unquote indie games. Wink, wink. The last game that both Scott and I would recommend to you is Trails Through Daybreak. It's this indie company
Yeah.
called Falcom. They're just so small. They work so hard in these games. It's just 2 dudes eating ramen in the back corner. You know how they are.
Just in their mother's basement.
In their mother's basement. Oh, God. Oh, my God. No, but Trails in Daybreak is the latest into the Trail series, a very cult RPG series that we joke, but it's very serious. Highly recommend it. It's a very different experience from other mainstream RPGs that we cannot recommend enough. We got a brand new character, new cast. I think this is probably the best game to get into if you're new to the series. Besides,
Yep.
the GOAT, Trails of the Sky. But let's not talk about that now. We'll talk about Trails of Daybreak. But yeah,
Trails through Daybreak, but yes.
yeah, Trails
I
of
would
Daybreak.
absolutely agree that this is probably one of the best. It is not the best. Yes, Sky is the best one to get into the Trail series, but it is one of the best in the sense that you don't need to really remember or know anything that happened before this series in order to understand this game's story and the characters and the cast. There are like Easter eggs and hints from the previous games and characters, but overall this is its own standalone kind of experience as we learn about Van Arkwright and the whole Arkwright kind of party. We get to see everything that goes on, and we get to see a fun go-to RPG that mixes elements of action combat and turn-based combat.
Yeah, and
It's just fun to play, and it's fun to understand the story.
pretty much. And one of the selling points I recommend of this game that makes it so good is that, like, I'll be honest with you, the Legend of Heroes main characters have always been solid in like being non-typical in a certain way, except for Rian. Rian's just nothing against him, but he's clearly a shonen protagonist type, 100%. But what makes Van interesting is no spoilers about him is that he has a code he actually follows, and though he plays his aloofness, he actually enforces that compared to other characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also is someone who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty to do what needs to be done.
Yeah, he would actually yell "Judge, Jury, Executioner" if someone hurts his friends. If you know what that
Yes.
means, you win extra points for that. Oh man, so those are the games we recommend you guys to check out for 2024. You probably haven't tried out already. Beloved Rapture, Beastie Ball, Key Locker, Toho Spell Carnival, and Trails to Daybreak. So that's it right there. And we're going to get into our first big topic that we're going to have a discussion about. So, 2024 was a good year for RPGs. And there are things we liked, there are things we didn't like, and there are things we hope for improvement on. We're going to start with the positive things we liked. So, Scott, what is one thing you liked about RPGs this year?
So this year was a phenomenal year for RPGs in the sense that there were a lot of RPGs. There were a lot of games, a lot of diverse genres within those RPGs. We had turn-based, we had action-based, we had a lot of innovative titles. There was just so many great games that came out in 2024 if you were a fan of RPGs.
That is true. And that it's just like there's so many diverse from like every style from like like you said ARPGs, strategy, turn-based, retro, AAA,
Yeah.
Falcom, who is, and this is not a joke. If you've been a fan of Falcom games or Falcom, they have stepped up their game in production and the game quality.
Oh,
Looking at, and this is not an insult, looking at Yeast 9 and Yeast 10 and Tales to Daybreak, it's like night and day. It's amazing.
It's like going from the PS2 era to the PS4 era in just one game.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And, for those keep saying, this plays and look at PS2 games. I'll be honest with you. What are you talking about? PS2 is GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT, man.
If any game plays like Kingdom Hearts 2, please give it to me.
Exactly, jeez. Like, people need to stop. Like, I never understood it. Like, yo, bro, PS2 is, like, one of the greatest consoles ever created, like, of all time. Like,
Yeah.
What makes, and side tangent, what makes a good console is the diversity of games and the high, excellent quality of those games. That's it. That's all you need to know. So if you're saying my game looks like a PS2 game, I take it as a thumb up compliment. Thanks. Speaking of old man games, oh my god, so many games got remastered, reported, and done with excellence and hand of care. I love that. From Dragon Quest III HD remake to the Star Ocean 2 remaster to Romancing Saga to the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. I'm like, holy snap. And then more coming out soon, which, has been announced. We're getting, Trails into Sky first, remastered. That's great. We're getting Ys Oath of Felgen. I think that's Ys 6, I think.
Yeah, so Ys... I
Felgen?
remember.
I think
Ys
Felgen
Oath
is
and
6.
Felgana...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 8 is Lana, 7 is Celica.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do some quick research live just to confirm because this is us checking ourselves just in case when the comments actually you're incorrect. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a scrub.
Okay, so Ys Oath and Velgana is actually a remake of Ys 3.
Oh, it's a remake of Ys 3. Okay.
Yeah. So the Oath and Felgana that's initially on like the PSP was for a remake of Ys 3. And the one that we're getting this year is the remaster of that remake. So,
oh wow! Okay.
In case that's not confusing at all.
Look, they're putting the sauce on it, right? I'm still waiting. I still want them to remake Ys Origins. That would make me cry. Because Ys Origins to me is the perfect one of the quote unquote perfect ARPGs because it's the most old school version of this where it's just a tower, just like Legend of Heroes: Boundless Trails, The Legend of Nayuta. Sometimes you just want your tower RPG, bro. That's all I really want. I just want to go up a tower. That's all I really want.
Just give me levels and layers.
Exactly. That's all I want. So, I want that. So, yeah, those are the good parts of RPGs of 2024. We got so many titles, very diversity, and games that were either good in the past or you never heard of, got reports, remasters. Hell, Chrono Crusade got one. You know what I'm saying? Chrono... The sequel to Chrono Trigger that everyone hated when we were kids, and now we can play and enjoy it. Jokingly, all joke aside, a lot of people did not like the sequel to Chrono Trigger because it's not really a sequel. It's kind of... No. The thing is that because...
They played around with Chrono Cross, so that's why I think... But at the same time, I understand where they're coming from. It was like, you can't make Chrono Trigger again.
Yeah.
So they wanted to still have it somewhere in like the world, but they also wanted to have it also be its own thing.
Exactly.
And I think for what it is, it did a decent job. But I was also a part of that. This isn't Chrono Trigger crew back in the day.
Yeah, trust me. We
but luckily, I changed once I got it on PSP and played through it and realized, oh wait,
yeah, exactly.
This game is actually decent.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you let the go, like accept it for what it is because we can't get it, but. I think Chrono Cross is it's top notch of its own game different style, but I'm glad that got remastered. People playing it too. So those are the two good points I'm very happy about. RPGs 2024. Let's talk about the bad points of RPGs 2024. And since I'm good cop, you be bad cop, Scott. Go ahead, start complaining.
Alrighty. So one thing I just want to say is that yes, we had a lot of RPGs that showed up last year. But one thing that I really disliked was we had a lot of RPGs that showed up around the same time last year. We have like the same same 3 months, and we'd have like 5 or 6 just amazing RPGs in that time period. I would have to basically skip games in order to play the ones that I wanted. If you wanted to say play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you'd have to basically skip Yakuza Infinite Wealth.
Or skip
if you wanted to play if you wanted to play Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, you'd have to basically skip out on like Persona 3 Reload or there's just so many games that would show up around the same time. It's just like I can't devote so much of my life in a single month to like 3 RPGs, all with 100+ hours worth of content.
Pretty much. And also too is like they just stacked on top of each other. Like the first 3 months, January, February, March of 2024, which is crazy, and then the winter session, like fall winter, I think, fall winter, right?
Yeah.
Fall winter, it's like it was cooked. It was too many.
Yeah, we had like October and November, December, and then January, February, March, and basically it was just like we're just gonna vomit RPGs.
Oh, and somehow, if you try to play games during the summer, there was this game that came out this summer. Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trial just came out with 2 new classes and level 100. Yeah, exactly. So it's like done. Like that. Like thanks Yoshi P. You had to squeeze it right in there. I mean, he did it at the perfect time, but it's like if you're playing catch up. Good luck. Oh god! I mean,
Yeah, it was basically impossible to play all the RPGs you wanted to play last year unless you either had no job, no life,
or you did what I did, no sleep.
Or
no sleep.
I just had no sleep.
I'm letting you know, man. Liquid Death has kept me alive more than anything else in my life. Just joking. Liquid Death the drink, please sponsor me. But yeah, another bad thing, I guess I could be bad cop, is I want to say a lot of the core problems with the RPGs of 2024 was that I feel like a lot of the games had little to no marketing. You just found out when it found out. It dropped. Kendrick. When Kendrick drops an album, he does nothing. He just dropped. Literally.
They were treating them basically how Square Enix treats their PC ports of games.
Oh my god, yeah, like out of nowhere, people found out, like, oh yeah, 16 dropped. Like, what do you mean 16 dropped? Since when?
Oh, there's a demo with it at least now too.
Yeah.
Okay, but when did it come to PC? Oh, just now. What do you mean just now?
Yeah, what do you mean just exactly? Like, oh my god. The marketing was just terrible across the board. Either some games had too many or too little, and it was hard in between. And I personally think like it does hurt some of the smaller indie developers unless you're in the sauce, like Scott and I in the sauce in the indie community. So obviously you both knew about Keylocker. Obviously you both know Beloved Rapture. Obviously, slight recommendation, play the demo for Dark Deity 2. That's in the sauce, getting in there too. I'm trying to give all the indie buzz right now. If you got any shout out, throw it in there, I just can't. But, and in very serious notes, it's like, unless you're in the sauce very politely, you're going to know about it. And I'm not saying everyone's in the sauce, everyone has their own particular case. Like, it's hard to no offense, mainstream Final Fantasy fans, hey, this game called Legend of Hero series. Legend of what? Okay, they have a new game that came out. What? Okay, please, don't what me. What? Get him! But in a very serious
note... Play more than just Final Fantasy, it's okay.
It's okay. But in a very serious note, no jokes to them, it's just that the marketing is either, for some games, a nil, or non-existent, and it really hurt, like, people finding these games out. Especially some of them were really, really good. Like, the games we recommended earlier, Did you hear about any of them? Let us know.
We have a lot of the games that showed up. And it also reminded me of just like the marketing for Trails in the Sky, the first chapter, especially for us on the west side of the world. And it showed up for like a 3-second sizzle reel on the Nintendo Direct, and that was its place in the trailer.
Yeah, I'm like,
it just shows up, and it's just like, now we go to Nintendo stuff. It's like, no, wait a minute,
what the hell?
Announce there's a remake of Trails in the Sky 1, and then not tell me anything about it.
It's like, what happened here? Like, Like I just feel like that meme of like wrap it up, wrap it up. What do you mean wrap it up? We just started a trailer. Just cut it short. Do it now. Do it now. So that happened. Oh. So that's essentially it. The marketing for some of the games were little to non-existent, and unless you are already an RPG enthusiast like us, you already had your hand in it. And even if you had our hand in it, there's some games we just didn't know to each other even then. So that was very hard. So. Scott, can I continue being bad cop?
Yeah, alrighty. So, another bad thing that we saw in the, I guess the community, is a lot of the whole, like, right-wing grifting was showing up in some of the RPGs. Notably, a lot happening with Dragon Age and the Veilguard.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people were basically making up all this crap about the game based on the trailer. And they're even, like, saying certain groups of people were basically a part of it that weren't actually a part of it.
Yeah. It's gone crazy.
So it's kind of just weird that we had so much. Because, like, don't get me wrong, there are problems with Dragon Age the Veilguard. But I honestly still think it's a pretty fun and enjoyable experience for a Dragon Age game. But at the same time, nothing's ever going to be a new Origins, because Origins is Origins.
Yeah, those seem gone, and it's not Inquisition either. Like
No.
Veilguard has a lot of problems on PC. Still has problems on PC. I'm not going to
Yes.
deny that. If I had to give an honest score to the game, it's between a 3 or 3.5. Is it bad? Not really, but it could be better. But the story's still strong. There's a really interesting characters, and my personal gripe of the game is Scott Hermes says everyone is just short.
Yeah, they for some reason decided that Varric was the peak human of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, so they decided to put all the characters based on Varric.
Like elves are shorter than
And
dwarves. What the hell?
so it's weird to have humans and like elves just like slightly taller than dwarves, because it makes like everyone feel a lot shorter than they should be.
Exactly. And like Veilguard to me, it's in a bad game. Like people just started like making up things that didn't happen to a point that people started to like. I do mean this gaslighting people saying, actually Dragon Age 2 was actually peak. I'm like, what? Like what? No, 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 no. Well, this is
If
real.
I wanted to run on the same 2 dungeons my entire game for 40 hours, I would go back to Dragon Age 2, dang it.
Like Kunari,
But I don't.
Yeah, like Kunari looks like real dragons in 2. Like, okay. I'm gonna have this conversation about when it comes to like making monster human people. Okay, you need a particularly good artist to understand the line between humanoid and more animal stuff. You have to talk to an anthropomorphic artist, aka a furry. Okay, they will know a lot more about this stuff than you do. Let's stop acting like you know about this, because you getting a little deep in this, you start me to think you're something you're not. Let's not go there. Okay, that's it. Secondly,
Don't go into the Sonic fandom.
exactly. Don't go there. Don't go into this other great game I play called Black Sad. That's another good one too. Trust me. Let's not talk about how Miss Briggs was hot in SWAT Cats. Let's not talk about myself right now. But in a very
We don't want to go down the list.
Let's not go down the list. But in all seriousness, the people's reaction just felt like so bad to a game that I felt like was slightly above average. Do I think the game is like the worst of the Dragon Age series? No. It's not Origins, and it's slightly under Inquisition. My honest complaint of the game is that there's still problems in the PC version, which is fair. And another complaint I have for the game is that it's a little too linear for a Dragon Age game. That's it. Otherwise, the story is decent, the characters are pretty neat, and you could date Scout Harding now, which, hey, that's something, right?
Finally.
Finally. Yeah, that's an improvement.
In case you're someone who liked Scout Hardy and Inquisition, which I was someone who did like her.
Yeah. So, that's it. And I guess it's my turn to be bad cop, since no more bad cop for you, Scott. You can bad cop on me is
I can sleep.
You can sleep, yeah. I deeply hated the community's reaction to out of nowhere saying turn-based RPGs are dying. I'm like, what? Say what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Dragon Quest 3 HD remake was like sold bazillion bonkers money, like within like a week.
Yeah.
They had like 1 million people playing the game, me being one of them. And Scott knows I spent too much time trying to find the secrets of just because I have a story about
all the secret areas.
Exactly. Oh my god, it's such a good game. It's like, no, they're not. Secondly, I hated people try to use this excuse because secretly you didn't like Final Fantasy 16. That also was like anytime you saw an action RPG, they used turn-based as dying. I'm like, look, Final Fantasy 16 is an okay game. And then here's the second part. This is the second tier. RPGs are dying. Turn-based RPGs are dying. They point to Final Fantasy 16. You say that's an action RPG. Then in order to say, I kid you not, well, Final Fantasy needs to find a direction for the games need to be in so they can be consistent. Okay, how many Final Fantasy games are there? It's like over 16 if you count some of the side games, right?
Yeah, there's if you count like the pluses and like the other lore building, especially heck, you could count all the Final Fantasy 7 type games, and there's already like 10 there.
Yeah, you also can count Tactics, Crystal, the World one, which I heard was pretty cute. All Final Fantasy games are this thing called different from each other. Even the OG ones, 1 through 6, they all have different mechanics separate from each other, even though they're kind of built on the same premise. So, the party system in 5. The dual party system that you have to switch with characters in 6,
Yep.
7.
7's there.
7, like just 7. So it's like you're telling me they need to be consistent, and all the games of Final Fantasy has been completely different from each other all the time. Every Final Fantasy game is a new game. What are you talking about? Look, just say you don't like 16, you don't like action RPGs, and that's it. That's perfectly fine. No one's gonna hurt you
Yeah,
for that.
you're allowed to not like Final Fantasy 16. You're allowed to not like that game. What you're not allowed to do is utilize your hate and then push it as if it's a narrative of some kind that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, because then you also point out, turn-based RPGs, like, dude, you could play Beastie Ball, you could play the Trails of series. At the time, Reverie was out. It was before Daybreak. You play Reverie, you could play Azure Zero. Exactly. And by the way, those games did pretty well enough for them to keep making more of them. So I'm just saying here, maybe turn-based isn't dying, especially people are still playing them. The problem is, either A, you're doing, as Scott's pointing out, you're using it as a way to push a narrative, or B, you don't play RPGs. That's hands up. Hands up. You don't. Because there are
Most likely the latter. They probably don't play anything but Final Fantasy.
And even then, bro, did you beat all of them? There's a lot of still turn-based ones you could play. Like, again, the Pixel remasters added some extra content. You could replay 8. You can even play 7 Remake and 7 Rebirth in turn-based mode if you want. And they still function primarily. I'm not joking. You could. You could play DQ11. You could play DQ3.
Yeah.
Just saying. Like,
There's a lot of things you can do in DQ11.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Maybe stop it. So honestly, the last two complement the things are just really community based, and we like it because it's like there are some. I don't think in 2024 there was an RPG that was truly like, and I mean this, below 2.5 stars. I don't think there's an RPG hit. Yeah, nothing was below 2.5 for me. And I played a lot of RPGs.
I can't think of anything that would be below 2.5 for me either, honestly.
Exactly. So
we got a lot of good RPGs.
Yeah, even Silent Hope, who I wish had more content in it, was about like 2.75 to a 3 for me. And they did fix a change where you could tone down the I would say the princess for talking too much in a way, because she would compliment you on everything. It gets a little annoying, so you could probably put it, just lower it, and that's enough. That's like yeah, and that's it. So no, but the final point we want to talk about 2024 is things we want improvements for the RPGs for 2025. What improvements we want? And Scott, make a suggestion. What improvement you want?
Alrighty, so to go along with the fact that we are getting a lot less marketing for games, I think it should be noted that we want more marketing for games. And even if, say, you have more difficulty with finding ways to market, you could also reach out, advertise, find things to push your game out there. There we have lots more social media type things you can do. We have lots of areas of expertise with PR, with press. There's a lot of ways you can market your game than just doing, I don't know, looking for the one trailer and the one giant game show that you hope people watch, and then hope everybody remembers that one date from 2 years ago that you said it was coming out.
Right. You can, we do our part here in the Outerhaven. We do trailer reactions, reviews. You could reach out to us. Maybe we get a little interview on the podcast. Just kidding. We also demos. There's tons of ways. So market more, reach out, definitely improve yourself. And it also applies to indie developers because, Scott and I are a huge fan of indie RPGs, and we'd be like, this, I knew that, I knew this, because he was playing Keylocker. I was unaware. I kickstarted Keylocker, was in the game since the alpha, and I'm like, you knew about Keylocker? Yeah, I knew about Keylocker. Bro, what the hell? It's stuff like that. So it's like, reach out more. I think that would help everybody, especially indie developers. Personally, also, as we talked about too many RPGs definitely just space out their releases more. I think it's like, I understand that you want to hit the key demo for your quarterlies, like towards the middle end of quarter to get sales. I definitely understand that for your company businesses, but also pay attention to the market. If Square Enix or let's say, and I'm not gonna say it won't happen. Let's say Larian makes another game, or Warhammer, any Warhammer 40k RPG pops up out of nowhere, because they can make some good RPGs if they wanted to. Or I think it's Owlcat, the people who make Pathfinder RPGs.
Yeah, I think that's Owlcat.
Owlcat or Owlbear. Those guys, they make fun RPGs. If they launch a game at the same time, it might be hard for you to find yourself to get noticed in there. Maybe space it out a month later, or something like that. That's a good idea. Space your game releases out better so you don't get caught in the flood of the other RPGs. Because most RPG buyers, at least in my opinion, and Scott Conversion, we are aware of each other, but we have to make that finite choice. It's like, if I had to buy a Final Fantasy game, I'll buy the Final Fantasy game and then buy the indie game later. And if I'm still going to buy your game, but it's not going to happen in the instant snap you need it for your quarterly sales, or I may forget about it or something else happens, etc., etc. So it's like, it becomes a point, like, your game is not, it is not going to be played. We're going to play your games. People are going to play games. It's not going to happen the instantaneous feedback you want. So yeah. So space yourself out better.
It's important that you give people time to play other games, and also so they don't have to make a choice between your game and the next big thing coming out.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, before, I guess, both Scott and I could both agree on these last 2 points we'll make for improvements. Provide more demos for your games. I think it's a great idea. Demos are great. Provide more demos.
Provide more demos and make them be a little lengthy if you can.
Yeah, like the Yeast X Nodex demo, my favorite demo. I streamed it on the YouTube channel. My mic died because it was so good. I was just still playing it. It's a scuff stream, letting you guys know it. It's like 6.5 hours. Goated game. It's the GOAT, okay? Yeast X is GOAT. And the thing is that it's great. More lengthy demos is great. And the second part to those demos, and I do provide demos to the public or to the press. Again, this is also for marketing. Goes back to it. See, get the marketing, here we go. Allow your demos to have save data. So if I purchase your game, I can just use my save data and pop it in when I continue playing. That's a great idea. And I like that because I got that when I was playing Yeast X. And I was like, wait, my save data crossover? Hell yeah, 3 chapters done, dab, dab.
You didn't waste your 6 hours.
That's right. I did it. Yeah. But that's I think Scott and I can agree to that. Those are great. Those are ways to, like, improve the RPG genre. Like, just space out your games more. Market better, reach out to various outlets, other ways getting trailers, etc., reach out to press. And if you want press from a more public from me, provide more demos to your games. Press demos, public demos, get on that. And make your demos more lengthy, so and allow them to be saved when people buy the full purchase of the game, because people will have a more connection to it. I think that really works out.
Yeah, plus it gives them a little bit more incentive to actually purchase the game, too, if they know that they can actually take whatever they did in the demo to the full game.
Exactly, yep. So, we're good now, without the way, let's get into the most important thing we're going to do for you. Here's some RPGs we're going to recommend for you for January 2025. So, alright, so Scott, take it away. What are you recommending us?
Alrighty, so the first game I want to recommend people is Robots at Midnight. This is an entry-level Souls-like type game, but it's really interesting because in the beginning you start out basically with, like, your metal, like, utility, as you're basically on, like, this special planet, and as you're going through, you're fighting these normal robots, and then when night hits, robots turn into a much more fierce beast. So you actually have to start utilizing your skills a lot more once the night hits, and they'll also start to auto-track you and everything. So it's kind of cool in a sense that you basically start off in, like, an easier setting, and then you get into a much more difficult setting later on. So it's basically an entry level. If you aren't sure if you like Souls-likes or if you just want to get into Souls-likes, this is the type of game you'd want to play. And I enjoyed a lot of the verticality and mobility when I actually played one of the demos at Summer Game Fest last year. So this is actually going to be a fun one on the radar you should probably pick up.
Sounds cool. And the game I'm going to recommend to you guys is Trails of Gears F Remastered. We're getting it. This is pretty much the Trails game that was for the PS3. I played it then. It's great. This game is, I would say, a Trails game I recommend you guys playing because it's really hilarious. They remastered some voice lines, and particularly I remember some of the battle mechanics. They made some mastering. I would say the remaster mechanics remind me of Dragon Quest III HD Remaster, where it's like, hey, I can see what I'm going on a map now. Hooray! It's enough to do that. So things like that, I think, are really cool. The one thing I like about the game is it has very hilarious skits between characters. One of my favorite skits of all time when playing this game with my brother is that there's a scene where you're playing with all the guys and they try to say all the catchphrases at once. They go, "What did I tell you?" It's hilarious, like all gerbils. So that I recommend. Trails of Grace F Remastered. So here's a game that we spoke of earlier, and we're spoken of games that's come out this month. Scott and I recommend Yeast's Memoir, The Oath of Felghana. Just get it. Just throw money at them now. Just take your wallet and throw that out
This
them right
is
now.
one of probably the best old school Yeast games, and it was also probably one of the best on the PSP as well. There's a lot of good action sets. There's a lot of action pieces, set pieces. We also get to learn more about Doji and where he comes from, so it's also just a solid one to get into if you're a big fan of the Yeast games.
Yeah, it's just so good. Oh god, I love how I think we found out in I think we did a trailer reaction to it. They allow you to use the remastered or the original mode if you want. So
Yep.
make your choice if you want. If you want to be that old school guy, keep it that way. If you want to remaster, do it that way. So another game that Scott and I got to recommend to you guys is from this other quote unquote indie company called NIS. Yeah, they make it a sequel to Phantom Brave. It's been like 10 years plus years, so we're getting a sequel to
Yeah,
Phantom
it's
Brave.
been forever.
I
Which
can't
is
believe they did it.
awesome.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I thought they were trolling us when I sold the trailer.
Yeah, it's not just a remaster. It's not a remake. It's a full-on sequel. New characters, new story plot, new everything.
Yeah, Phantom Brave has elements of comedy like a Disgaea, but Disgaea, the entire thing is a joke and a parody. It's like this has comedy based on the world it's in. It's very interesting, and God, I like the direction this is going. I mean, I can't more SRPG goodness, please. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just can't believe they did it. Like, oh my God, you did it.
They brought it back.
Like,
The Phantom Brave.
Yeah, after like 7 Disgaea games, you brought it back.
Only took them forever.
I know, Jesus, man, it's just crazy. I just can't. And the thing I'm excited for about this, I want to see the new story where it takes and the things they do. So yeah, and the final game that's going to cover myself and Sithscott is going to be Citizen Sleeper 2 Star Wars Vector. This is a sequel to Citizen Sleeper. If you love tactical RPGs, it's really, really good. It has that old school heart base, and it's like, if you like sci-fi, you like tactical RPGs, it's definitely up your alley. I can't go any more about it. It's just, it hits that itch in a way of, man, I really do like my old school kind of mud text-based RPG situations. I like planning out and reading my scroll text for 6 hours. That's me.
Plus, I'm guessing the dice help.
A little bit. They help make your decision making. So you got your dice elements in there, like your dice roguelikes and everything like that. So that's pretty good. So that's all the RPGs we're recommending to you for this month. For January 25, recommend you Robots at Midnight, Trails of Grace F Remastered, Yeast's Memoir, The Oath of Felghana, Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero, and Citizen Sleeper 2, Star Wars Vector. So with that out the way, we want to thank everyone who watched and or listened to the first episode, I would say, or the first save of the Support Save Scumming podcast.
First save.
First save of the Support Save Scumming podcast. Sithscott will be back next time with RPG goodness. And remember, if you're not save scumming, start now. Because come on, don't act like you're going to beat the game one shot. Just save scum. Gotta know your options.
Save your time. Extra saves.
Extra saves, exactly. Remember, if they're asking you to save again.
If it auto-saves, saved again.
Exactly, pretty much. And we're Support Save Scumming, everybody. And remember, be sure to subscribe to us on the Outerhaven YouTube channel. Follow us on the Outerhaven YouTube and Blue Sky. And you can follow us directly on Twitter and Blue Sky at Getselious, and Blue Sky and Twitter at Sithscott. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Support Save Scumming, everybody.
See ya.